are standing at the front of a large wooden ship. The wind is strong, the sea is deep blue, and it goes on forever in every direction. There is no land, there is no city, there is no law, there is only the ocean and the ship under your feet. Behind you, 30 men are watching you, waiting for your order. The black flag at the top of the ship is moving in the wind, and on that flag, a white skull, smiling at the world below it. You are not a soldier. You are not a sailor working for a king. You are something else. Something the world fears, something the world is fascinated by, something the world has never fully understood. You are a pirate. And today, this is your life. Stay right here, because this story is not just about swords and treasure. It is about freedom, survival, brotherhood, and some of the most dangerous choices a human being can ever make. This is the real life of a Caribbean pirate, and it is nothing like the movies. Chapter 1. How You Became a Pirate. Your name is James Hawke. You are 23 years old. You were not born a pirate. Nobody is born a pirate. You became one, because of a choice, and because of something that happened to you, that you did not choose at all. You grew up in Bristol, England, a port city, a city on the water, full of ships, sailors, merchants, and the smell of the sea. Your father worked on ships his whole life, loading and unloading heavy boxes of goods for rich merchants. He worked hard his whole life and died young. His body simply gave up at the age of 41. With no father and no money, you did the only thing a young man in Bristol could do. You went to the docks and asked to work on a ship. You were 17 years old. A merchant ship captain named Forsyth took you on as a junior sailor. The pay was very small, the work was very hard, but you had food, a place to sleep, and the sea, and you loved the sea. Merchant ship. A merchant ship is a large boat that carries goods, like food, cloth, or gold, from one place to another to sell them. It works for business, not for war or the navy. For 3 years you sailed on Captain Forsyth's ship. You went to Portugal, to West Africa, and across the Atlantic Ocean to the Caribbean islands. You saw beautiful things. Flying fish jumping out of bright blue water, islands covered in thick green trees, sunsets that turned the whole sky orange and red. You learned how to read the stars at night to know where you were in the ocean. You learned how to read the wind and the clouds to know when a storm was coming. But then, the bad day. The day everything changed. You were in the Caribbean near an island called Hispaniola, when another ship appeared on the horizon, a large, fast ship flying a black flag. Pirates. Before Captain Forsyth could do anything, the pirate ship was alongside yours. Men with swords and pistols jumped aboard. There was a short, violent fight. Captain Forsyth was injured. 3 sailors were hurt badly, and then the pirate captain, a tall, calm man named Rodrigo, walked across the deck and spoke to the crew. He said, "Your captain works for a rich merchant who sits safely in England while you do all the dangerous work. He gets rich, you get almost nothing. Join my crew. Equal pay for every man, equal vote on every decision, or go back to England and keep working for men who will never respect you." 6 men from Captain Forsyth's ship joined that day. You were one of them, and just like that, your old life ended. Your new life began. Horizon. The horizon is the far distant line where the sky and the sea seem to meet. When you are on a ship in the middle of the ocean, the horizon is the edge of everything you can see. Chapter 2. Life aboard the ship. The pirate ship is called La Tormenta, Spanish for the storm. It is a large, beautiful ship with 3 tall masts and big white sails. It can move very fast when the wind is right. The ship is about 40 meters long. It has 2 levels below the main deck where the crew sleeps, stores food, and keeps the cannons ready for battle. Mast. A mast is a tall, strong pole made of wood that stands upright on a ship. The sails of the ship are attached to the mast, and the wind pushes the sails to move the ship forward. There are 32 men on this ship. They come from 6 different countries: England, Portugal, France, West Africa, Jamaica, and 1 man, a very quiet man called Tomas, who is from Brazil and speaks almost no English. But on this ship, where you are from does not matter. What matters is how well you do your job and how much you can be trusted. This surprises you at first. On Captain Forsyth's merchant ship, the English sailors were treated better than the others. But on La Tormenta, there is a strange equality, an equal fairness. that you have never experienced before. Every man on the ship signed a document before joining the crew. This document is called the Articles. It lays out the rules of the ship, how the treasure is divided, how decisions are made, what happens if someone breaks the rules. Every man agreed to these rules. Every man signed his name or made his mark if he could not write. Articles. On a pirate ship, the articles were the written rules that every crew member agreed to follow. They covered things like how to share treasure, how to vote on decisions, and how to punish bad behavior. The daily life on the ship is not the romantic adventure that stories make it sound. Most days the work is simply hard, physical, and repetitive. You scrub the deck, you check the ropes, you climb up the mast to fix the sails, you take turns keeping watch, standing at the front of the ship for 4 hours at a time, searching the horizon for other ships, for land, or for dangerous rocks beneath the surface of the water. The food is not good. After a few days at sea, the bread goes hard and full of small insects called weevils. You eat it anyway, because you are hungry. The water in the barrels slowly goes bad and tastes terrible. The only good days for food are when you catch fish, which happens often in the warm Caribbean waters. On those evenings, the cook, a large, cheerful Jamaican man named Big Solomon, makes a fish stew with peppers and coconut milk that tastes so good it almost makes you forget every hard thing about this life. Nights on the ship are something special. When the sea is calm and the stars are out, the sky above the Caribbean is unlike anything you have ever seen. Millions of stars, brighter than you ever thought possible. The older sailors say it is because there are no city lights out here to hide the stars. Out here, the sky shows you its true self. On these quiet nights, you sit on the deck, look up, and feel something you have no word for. Small and large at the same time. Alone and connected at the same time. Chapter 3. Captain Rodrigo. You need to understand the man who leads this ship. Captain Rodrigo da Silva is not the pirate captain from your childhood stories. He does not shout and wave a sword all day. He is quiet. He is calm. He reads books. He speaks 4 languages. He is from Lisbon, Portugal, and he became a pirate after the Portuguese Navy, the official sea military, treated its sailors so badly that many of them simply walked away. Rodrigo is 40 years old. He has a long scar across his left cheek from a sword fight 10 years ago. He wears simple clothes. No gold, no jewels. He says that fancy clothes on a ship are just things that slow you down in a fight and fall apart in the rain. He drinks very little. He never gambles. He says that a captain who gambles is a captain who will one day bet the ship and lose it. Gamble means to play games where you bet money. You risk losing your money in the hope of winning more. Many sailors gamble to pass the time, but it often caused them to lose everything they had earned. But what makes Rodrigo extraordinary, truly different from other leaders you have known, is this: he listens. Before any major decision, he calls the whole crew together on the main deck. He explains the situation. He asks for opinions. He lets every man speak. Then the crew votes. Majority rules. The side with more votes wins. Even if Rodrigo disagrees with the vote, he follows it, because that is what he agreed to when he formed this crew. This system of voting on a pirate ship surprises many people, but it was actually very common among Caribbean pirates during this time period, the early 1700s, known as the Golden Age of Piracy. Pirates created democratic systems where every person gets a say, before most countries in the world had them. They had workers' rights that protected injured crew members, before most countries had those too. They were outlaws. They were criminals in the eyes of the law, but within their own world, they built something surprisingly fair. Democratic means a system where decisions are made by voting, where every person gets an equal say. A democratic group or country lets its members or citizens choose what happens through votes. One evening, Rodrigo sits beside you on the deck and asks you why you joined the crew that day on the merchant ship. You tell him honestly, you were not sure. Part of it was fear. Part of it was curiosity. Part of it was that something in his words felt true in a way you could not ignore. He nods slowly and says, "The sea does not lie to you. People lie. Governments lie. Merchants lie. But the sea tells you exactly what it is every single day. That is why we are here. Not because we are bad men, but because we wanted to find a place where the truth is possible." You think about those words for a long time after that night. Chapter 4. The Hunt. One bright Tuesday morning, the lookout man, perched high at the top of the mainmast, shouts down two words that change everything on the ship instantly. Sail! Sail! The whole crew moves at once. Men run to their positions. Ropes are pulled. The sails are adjusted to catch more wind. The helmsman, the man who controls the direction of the ship, turns the wheel. La Tormenta begins to move faster, leaning slightly to one side as it cuts through the water. The helmsman is the person on a ship whose job is to steer it, to control the direction the ship moves by turning a large wheel connected to the rudder at the back of the ship. You climb up the mast with your looking glass, a simple telescope, and study the other ship on the horizon. It is a Spanish merchant vessel, heavy and slow, sitting low in the water, which means it is carrying a full load of cargo. This ship is traveling from the Spanish colonies in South America back to Spain. It is carrying something valuable, gold perhaps, or silver, or sugar and spices. Whatever it is worth a great deal of money to someone. Here is the moment where the real story of piracy begins, not in the fighting, but in the approach. Because Captain Rodrigo's greatest skill is not his sword, it is his ability to make the other ship surrender without a fight at all. To surrender means to stop fighting and give up, to accept that you have lost and show the other side that you will not resist anymore. On a ship, surrendering meant raising a white flag. As La Tormenta gets closer to the Spanish ship, Rodrigo raises the black flag, the Jolly Roger, the famous pirate skull flag. This flag sends a clear message. We are pirates. If you fight us, people will die. If you give us what we want, nobody gets hurt. It is a psychological weapon, a weapon that works on the human mind, not on the body. And it works very often. The Spanish ship slows down. Through your looking glass, you can see the crew on their deck, small figures running and shouting. After a few tense minutes, a white flag rises slowly on the Spanish ship. They are surrendering, without a single shot fired. The crew of La Tormenta cheers. You cheer with them. But Captain Rodrigo does not cheer. He stands at the front of the ship watching the other vessel carefully, because he knows that in this moment, the moment after surrender, is when things can still go very wrong if you are not careful. The Jolly Roger is the name for the famous black pirate flag with a white skull and crossbones on it. Pirates used it to frighten other ships into surrendering without a fight. La Tormenta pulls alongside the Spanish ship. Ropes are thrown across. The two ships are tied together. You cross over with 8 other men. The Spanish crew stands together on the deck, about 40 men, looking pale and frightened. You feel something strange. These men look like you, tired men, working men, men doing a job for a captain who works for a merchant, who works for a king, who sits far away in a palace in Madrid. The cargo is valuable. 20 heavy boxes of silver coins, 12 large bags of dried tobacco, and 6 barrels of fine rum. All of it is moved carefully across to La Tormenta. It takes 2 hours. Nobody fights. Nobody is seriously hurt. When everything is moved, your crew crosses back. The ropes are cut. The two ships drift apart. The Spanish captain stands on his deck, watching you sail away with his cargo. He does not look angry. He mostly looks relieved to still be alive. Chapter 5. The Dark Side of the Sea. Now, I need to tell you something important, because this story would not be honest if I only showed you the exciting parts. The real life of a pirate had a dark side, a very dark side, and you need to know about it. Not all pirate captains were like Rodrigo. Many were brutal men who used fear and violence as their main tools. They hurt people. They destroyed ships. They left sailors stranded in the ocean. The romantic image of the pirate, the free spirit, the rebel hero, was not always real. For many people who crossed paths with pirates, the experience was terrifying and sometimes fatal. Brutal. Brutal means extremely violent and cruel, without any kindness or mercy. A brutal person hurts others without caring about their pain or suffering. And even on a good ship like La Tormenta, the life is hard in ways that slowly wear you down. You have been at sea for 6 weeks without seeing land. 6 weeks of salt water, bad food, hot sun, and wet nights. 2 men on the ship are sick with fever. One of them, a young Frenchman named Pierre, who you became friends with, is getting worse each day. There is no doctor on the ship. The closest thing is an older sailor named Cook. Not his real name, just what everyone calls him, who knows some basic medicine. But the medicines he has are simple and old. You sit beside Pierre at night and talk to him, even when he cannot answer back. You tell him about Bristol, about the first time you saw the ocean as a child and thought the water went all the way to the edge of the world. Pierre smiles weakly and says something in French you cannot understand, but you understand the tone. He is saying, "Thank you for being here." Pierre recovers slowly over the next week, but the experience shakes something in you, because you realize for the first time, fully and clearly, that out here, when something goes wrong with your body, you are very far from any help. The ocean does not care if you are sick. The ocean does not care about anything. It is beautiful, and it is indifferent. It treats everyone exactly the same. The king and the pirate, the merchant and the slave. The ocean gives you no special treatment, and there is something terrifying and also deeply honest about that. Indifferent. Indifferent means not caring at all, having no feelings or preference about something. When we say the ocean is indifferent, we mean it does not care who you are or what happens to you. There is also the constant reality of the law. Every government in the Caribbean and in Europe has declared pirates to be enemies. If you are caught by a British Navy ship, or a Spanish one or a French one, you will be arrested, taken to a port, put on trial, and very likely hanged, publicly, as a warning to others. The governments hang pirates in busy ports so that all the sailors passing through can see it and be afraid. In Nassau, in Port Royal, in Havana, the bodies of hanged pirates swing in the wind at the harbor entrance. It is meant to be a message. It is a message that every pirate knows and chooses to ignore. You know this. You think about it sometimes late at night, when the ship is quiet. You chose this life. You chose the freedom and the danger together, because you could not have one without the other. Chapter 6. The Storm. It begins as a feeling, a change in the air, heavier, warmer, wetter. The sky in the east turns a strange greenish color. The birds that have been flying around the ship all morning are suddenly gone. The sea, which was calm and bright blue just 1 hour ago, begins to change color. It goes darker, greener, and the waves begin to grow. Captain Rodrigo looks at the sky for a long time without speaking. Then he turns and says, calmly, clearly, one word: hurricane. A hurricane is an extremely powerful storm that forms over warm ocean water. It brings very strong winds, huge waves, and heavy rain. Hurricanes in the Caribbean were one of the biggest dangers for ships in the 1700s. The next 30 minutes are the busiest, most frightening 30 minutes of your life on this ship. Every man moves fast. The large sails are pulled down and tied tightly, so the wind cannot tear them. Loose objects on the deck, barrels, boxes, ropes, tools, are tied down or locked below. The hatches, the doors that lead below deck, are sealed. Everything that can move is secured. Everything that can break is protected. And then, the storm arrives. Nothing you have seen before prepares you for this. The wind hits La Tormenta like a wall. The ship tilts sideways, so far that you have to hold the rope with both hands to stop yourself from sliding across the deck and into the ocean. The waves are enormous, 15, 20 feet tall, walls of dark gray water that crash over the ship and sweep across the deck in a white foam. The sound is beyond anything, a roaring, screaming, crashing noise that never stops. You cannot hear the man next to you, even if he shouts directly into your ear. For 4 hours, La Tormenta fights the hurricane. The ship rises to the top of one massive wave, balances for a heart-stopping second at the top, then plunges down into the dark valley between waves. Again and again and again, you hold on. You tie yourself to the rope near the mast so you cannot be washed overboard. You close your eyes sometimes. You pray. You do not consider yourself a religious man, but in this moment, with the ocean trying to swallow your ship whole, you find words for God coming out of your mouth all by themselves. Then slowly, very slowly, the storm begins to weaken. The waves get smaller. The wind drops. The sky goes from black to gray to a pale, exhausted white. And then, like a miracle, a small opening of clear blue sky appears to the west. The storm is moving away. You look around the ship. The deck is covered in broken ropes and debris. One of the smaller masts is broken in half. 2 men have cuts and bruises from being thrown around. But nobody is dead. Nobody is lost overboard. La Tormenta is damaged, but alive. Debris. Debris means broken pieces and scattered materials left after something has been destroyed or damaged, like pieces of wood, torn rope, and broken objects after a storm. That evening, after the storm, something beautiful happens. Big Solomon cooks the best meal he has ever made: fish, rice, fresh coconut, and warm spiced rum for every man. The crew sits together on the damaged deck under a sky full of stars, eating and talking and laughing. You look around at these men, men from 6 countries, men of different ages and languages and stories, and you feel something you did not expect. You feel that you belong here, with these people, on this broken, beautiful ship, in the middle of this wild, honest sea. Chapter 7. The Choice. 3 months later, La Tormenta drops anchor near a small, secret cove on the island of Tortuga, a famous pirate island in the Caribbean. Here, pirates came to rest, repair their ships, trade, and plan their next voyages. The island is wild and green, with white sand beaches and warm, clear water. Cove. A cove is a small, sheltered bay, a curved piece of coastline protected by land on both sides. Pirates loved coves because the land hid their ships from passing vessels and from navy patrols. In Tortuga, you hear news from the outside world. The British Royal Navy has increased its patrols in the Caribbean. They are catching more pirate ships. 3 well-known pirate captains were caught and hanged in the past 6 months. The world is changing. The golden age of piracy, this wild, free period when pirates ruled certain parts of the Caribbean, is coming slowly to an end. Governments are getting stronger, their navies are getting bigger and faster. The space for a free life on the ocean is getting smaller every year. Captain Rodrigo calls the crew together on the beach one evening. He sits in the sand, without his captain's coat, looking like any ordinary tired man. He speaks quietly, but everyone listens. "I have kept my promise to every man on this ship," he says. "Equal pay, equal vote, equal danger. We have lived by the articles, and we have done well. But I am going to tell you the truth now, as I always have. This life, our life, has a time limit. Every year, the Navy gets closer. Every year, the ports where we are welcome get fewer. I'm not saying we stop. I'm saying we need to think about what we want our future to look like." He pauses, looks at the fire, then says, "In 2 weeks, I have been offered passage to the colony of Carolina in North America. A man there will give me land papers, legal documents, and a false name, a clean start, a life on land, safe, quiet, boring perhaps, but alive." The crew is silent. This is not a vote tonight. This is not a decision. It is just a truth being told, captain to crew, man to man. And in the silence, every person sitting around that fire begins to think about his own future, his own truth. Colony. A colony is a place or territory that is controlled and settled by people from another country. In the 1700s, Britain, Spain, and France all had colonies in America and the Caribbean that they ruled from far away. You sit on that beach for a long time after everyone else has gone to sleep. You look at the ocean, the same ocean that has given you adventure, terror, friendship, and more freedom than you ever felt in Bristol. You think about your father, who worked his whole life for other men and died without ever choosing his own path. You think about Captain Forsyth's ship and the tiny amount of pay and the voice inside you that said, "Enough." The day Rodrigo spoke to the crew. You do not regret becoming a pirate, not for a single moment. But Rodrigo is right. The world is changing, and a person who cannot change with the world eventually gets swallowed by it, just like a ship that cannot turn in a storm. Chapter 8. What the Sea Taught You. In the end, you make your choice. You sail with La Tormenta one final time, south, to a small Portuguese island, where Captain Rodrigo has arranged papers and a quiet life for any man who wants it. 7 men from the crew stay. They are going to try their luck further in the Caribbean, on a smaller, faster ship. You wish them well. You mean it. The night before you leave the ship for the last time, you climb up to your old favorite position, halfway up the main mast, where you can see everything. The black water below, the pale white sails above, the stars in every direction, more stars than you can ever count. Tortuga is a small dark shape behind you. The open ocean stretches ahead. And you think, what did this life teach you? It taught you that freedom is real, but it is never free. You always pay for it with something: comfort, safety, the approval of the world around you. The pirates paid for their freedom every single day, with danger and uncertainty and the constant shadow of the law behind them. Freedom has a price, but so does a life with no freedom at all. The question is simply, which price are you willing to pay? Uncertainty means not knowing what will happen next, not being sure about the future. A life of uncertainty is unpredictable. You never know if tomorrow will be safe or dangerous, good or bad. It taught you that the people you choose to stand beside matter more than almost anything else in life. On La Tormenta, you found men who treated you fairly and honestly, men who had nothing in common with you on the surface but everything in common underneath. Loyalty, courage, and a shared belief that fairness matters. That is a rare thing, in any world, in any century. It taught you that the ocean, this massive, powerful, indifferent ocean, is the greatest teacher of all. Because the ocean has no favorites. It does not care who you are. It will treat a king and a beggar with the exact same wind and the same wave. The ocean teaches humility. It teaches you that you are small and the world is enormous, and the only way to survive is to pay attention, work hard, and trust the people beside you. Humility. Humility means understanding that you are not bigger or more important than everything around you. Being modest, honest about your limits, and respectful of things greater than yourself. And finally, it taught you the value of a story, because nobody will believe you in your quiet life on land if you tell them what you have seen and done. Nobody will fully understand what it felt like to stand at the front of a ship in a hurricane, or to watch the Jolly Roger rise in the morning sun, or to eat fish stew on a broken deck under a sky full of stars with 30 men from 6 countries who all chose, freely, to be exactly where they were. But you will know, you will always know, and that is enough, more than enough. You climb down from the mast, you walk across the deck one last time, running your hand along the old wooden railing. You whisper something, too quiet for anyone to hear, a private goodbye to the ship, to the sea, to this version of yourself that lived a life so loud and bright and dangerous that it lit up the sky like a cannon blast and then quietly was gone. The rowboat takes you to shore. You do not look back, because that is not the pirate way. You look forward, always forward, towards the next horizon. Closing, speak with energy, warmth, and a big smile, and that, my friend, is what your life as a pirate on the Caribbean Sea truly looked like. Not just swords and treasure and adventure, but real human choices, real friendship, real fear, real freedom, and real consequences. The golden age of piracy lasted from roughly 1680 to 1730. Famous real pirates like Blackbeard, Bartholomew Roberts, Anne Bonny, and Calico Jack all sailed these same blue waters, all made the same impossible choice between safety and freedom, and all left behind stories that the world still tells 300 years later. We remember them, not because they were perfect people, but because they were human people, complicated, brave, flawed, and completely wildly alive. Now, if this story moved you, taught you something, or improved your English today, please hit the like button right now. It helps this channel reach more learners just like you. Leave a comment below. I want to know which moment in the story was your favorite. Was it the storm, the surrender, the beach conversation with Rodrigo? Tell me, and subscribe, because your next English story adventure is already waiting for you. I will see you there. Fair winds, my friend.